Frankie, I thought we'd be sitting here celebrating 3 points. I appreciate you didn't, by the way. I knew you thought we wouldn't win, but I thought we'd be sitting here celebrating 3 points, discussing some good performances. But we're doing the opposite. A comfortable defeat against Brentford on Saturday. Let's talk about it. How did you see the game?
Really frustrating. Not what I expected to see. I thought we would build upon what we'd been seeing recently, improvements and hard work and commitment and just a spirited performance. And it was flat as a pancake, mate. It was just so flat from the very, very start. We looked, you can't say leggy because they've had a massive break. So it wasn't tiredness. It was just, I don't know, it was lethargic. It was just uninterested, very flat from the very beginning. And look, there are many factors as to why that might have been. And I've kind of got a few opinions as to why. I know a lot of people have massively dug out the players and sort of pointed a lot of the blame towards them, which at times I think is important to call players out. But from the very start, Brentford looked so comfortable with what we were doing. They looked like they had our number just straight away. And I think that played a big part. And we didn't have any answers to that in the first half. So, yeah, really frustrating all round, to be honest. I think the fans were frustrated, but I think the players were also frustrated as well.
Where's it gone wrong? And I appreciate you talking about a lack of energy. I agree. The first 45, I thought it looked like we just didn't turn up at all, but it looked like some of them didn't even seem remotely bothered that we were getting run over by Brentford. And I agree with you. I think Thomas Frank completely had Graham Potter's number, which is surprising. Managerial head-to-head coming into this one, 6 games against each other. Potter's won 5 of them. So previously, he's completely outdone Thomas Frank when it comes to tactics. But it felt like not only did Thomas Frank have him, Brentford were just doing their usual game. I didn't see anything from Brentford that I hadn't seen in previous weeks either. And it felt I think that's what frustrated me. It had Brentford come out and switch to 3 at the back themselves, change formation, completely came up with something new and beat us. I say fair enough. Weren't expecting that. But what I seen from Brentford, I'd say actually that's exactly what you should have been expecting from the Brentford team. So what do you think caused? I know you said lack of energy, but is there anything else that you think contributed to that limp performance?
Well, I just think the game plan from the very start was very clear. It was never going to work, and we all see football very differently. I think that's really important, and that's absolutely fine. I saw it as basically, I saw it as a bit of non-league football tactics. Like what we tried to do to Brentford is what Dorking Wanderers try and do to the teams that they play against. I felt like Graham Potter tried that right-hand side overload. He tried to get Bowen over there with Kudus, with Wan-Bissaka. I think he felt that if we could squeeze Wan-Bissaka high, it would create a numerical advantage on that right-hand side. And that would unlock Brentford's defence and we would get a lot of success over there. Where it became very apparent very quickly that they could cope with it quite comfortably. I don't even know whether they had a plan for it, to be honest. I don't think they necessarily countered what we was trying to do. I think they just coped with it perfectly well. I think they just thought, we can see what you're trying to do here. It doesn't bother us. It doesn't faze us. We've got the pace, athleticism to cope with that, and that's fine. And then once that sort of run out in the first half, it was right. Well, it's not working. We've got to try something. It was just chuck Kudus on the other side and maybe he'll get some success over there. But that was so basic in terms of managerial tactics. It's not what I expect from a Premier League manager, especially someone who's supposed to be so good, being a tactical manager. So, and I think just when it became apparent that it was not going to work, I mean, we was chucking everything down that right-hand side, everything. And then when you've got Soler out on the left, he got totally disinterested in the game. And I thought he had one of the absolute worst performances he's had for West Ham. But again, can you blame Soler when you're abandoning anything down his side of the football pitch? And, for me, it was too simple. And Thomas Frank had the number right from the very, very start. And it just, when Kudus you know what he's like. He can get frustrated at times. When he gets frustrated and things are not quite working for him, he then tries to overplay. He tries to do too much. Then, and that's what we started to see. I don't necessarily think they came out with a wrong attitude. I just think they realised that the whole game plan within the first 10 minutes was just not one that we was going to get any success out of. And frustration started to grow very quickly. The crowd was very flat. That didn't help the team. We certainly did nothing on our side to lift the players. And ultimately, it just ended up being a completely non-event of a first half of football. It was so bad.
I'm ready to quote a stat that I brought up in the player rating show. So if you've seen this, you're going to look like some sort of statistical genius, but I'm going to chuck it out there for those that haven't listened to that show. I guess how many times Emerson passed to Solar. Obviously, they played 45 minutes together, the first half against Brentford, left back, left mid, left wing, depending how you've seen it. But the two players down the left flank for West Ham, I think we can say that. How many times do you think Emerson passed the ball to Solar?
I haven't seen it, but I'm going to go 3.
Once.
Yeah, there you go.
So that just, when you're talking about how we were just so right-hand side heavy, you could say that proves it, or you could say that it proves that there's no chemistry between those two, or whatever you want. But just once did. Saying that, Solar was passing to Emerson quite a lot. He was going backwards plenty. Sorry, Emerson was going backwards plenty. He was passing, I think he did 18 passes, Emerson, and 6 of them went to Kilman. So a third of his passes went backwards to Max Kilman. The one thing that there was sort of one thing I liked from Saturday, which was Paqueta in the second half. Don't know what you thought of his performance. I thought he was a lot better, a lot more comfortable, deeper in the pit. I don't like him as this false 9 thing. I know I liked his performance a couple of weeks ago. I'm not changing my opinion on that, but I thought against Brentford, they handled him really comfortably, to be honest with you. It was he couldn't hold the ball up. He wasn't in the game at all. I thought he was crap for the first half. But the second half, I thought he was getting on the ball. Now, did he make anything happen? No. But I don't know. I thought there were signs there that gave me a little bit of encouragement. That's something that we can use going into the Arsenal game. There wasn't much, but I thought the performance of Paqueta was one of them. But there was one thing that really pissed me off on Saturday, Frankie, and not just getting beat, but where Potter put Jarrod Bowen in the first half. It really irritated me. And that's partly my fault, because I was really looking forward to Jarrod Bowen under Graham Potter because of how, we'd seen this sort of 3-4-3, the box midfield, 2 number 10s. I could see in my head, I could imagine Jarrod Bowen playing the right-hand side of that number 10 role behind Ferguson with Paqueta next to him probably. And I was really looking forward to it. I assumed that's what Potter would have done against Brentford. So when, kickoff's taken, immediately look and see how we're lining up and what the formation is and where the players are. And to me, it looked like a 4-4-2, certainly out of possession. I thought it was comfortably a 4-4-2. But Bowen was pinned to the touchline, I thought he was completely handcuffed to the touchline, couldn't get off it in the first 45 minutes. I just thought he couldn't get into the game whatsoever. And I thought we had basically ourselves, we've handicapped our most influential player where he couldn't do anything. He couldn't attack Brentford. And Kane Lewis-Potter's been playing well this season, but he's still not an out-and-out left-back. He's still learning that role. And I thought there was a really good, in terms of inexperienced left-back, that's possibly the best you're going to come up against in the Premier League, really. This week when we face Arsenal, I guess Lewis Skelly's more inexperienced than Kane Lewis-Potter, and not a left-back either. But who we got after Arsenal? We've got Leicester. Christensen's an out-and-out left-back. Then we've got Newcastle with Lewis Holiday, who's a fantastic left-back. So that's as good as it's going to get for Bowen. And I was looking forward to him possibly attacking Kane Lewis-Potter a little bit, and it just didn't happen. And then to get a little bit techie, Frankie, I've still got the picture, the charts from the Wisecout report, so I'm going to use them to demonstrate my point. This is Jarrod Bowen's actions on field, comparing first to second. I think it's fair to say that a lot of his actions in the first half were inside our half, Frankie, and they were all up and down that touchline. And then the passes reiterate this as well. This is Jarrod Bowen's passes in the first half. They're all in the first half are going backwards. A handful in Brentford's half going forward. The ones in around the box are all inaccurate, bar one. The second half doesn't get much better, to be honest with you. Not very involved was Jarrod Bowen, but his passes at least were now in the final third. A little bit. But Yeah, I was disappointed by that, Frankie. Maybe I'm overreacting. You can tell me.
No, I'll make it absolutely right. But again, that was the plan. That was what Potter wanted. He wanted him hugging that right-hand side. That's where he was clearly asked to play. We clearly wanted Kudus to be slightly more inside in terms of that wide three. And then we wanted Wan-Bissaka, running up there and supporting from deep. So that was the plan. That was what Potter wanted.
Well, I didn't
That's
like
what he asked for. No, and it was absolutely right not to like it. But it was also just completely ineffective. It just didn't work for whatever. Look, at the end of the day, on another day against another team, maybe it does work. You're looking at your sort of three big attacking threats down the right-hand side. You would normally look at that and think teams would struggle to cope with those three if we can get them ticking along with each other. And then he was looking at having Paqueta in the middle. Like you said, on paper, Paqueta's strong. He does hold the ball up well. He's difficult to get the ball off. He makes a nuisance of himself. It suggests that he could play a sort of false nine role in the middle. That does say that. But every time he's played there, at some point, you have to just accept that that's not right. That's not where they play. They're no good there, and that's that. I know some players, you're saying, Keane Lewis Potter's learning a role. Sometimes you have got to learn a new role, and I completely accept that and completely understand that. But if you're going to do it, then you've got to continue with it week in, week out, and you've got to give it a run. My biggest problem is, again, we're still changing all the time. It doesn't seem to matter what manager we get at the moment. I mean, let's little bit of provocative Frankie here, but and the name David Moyes, and we don't want to go back to and I don't care what he's doing at Everton at the moment. I'm not bothered about that. But the point I'm trying to make, one thing I'm trying to give him is that he kind of had a team that he wanted to play, and he kind of stuck with it. And it didn't really care what anyone else was saying or anyone was thinking. He had his game plan, and he wanted to stick with that. At some point, we have got to find a manager who says, this is my best team, this is the system I want to play, and just stick with it. I was really surprised how much our system changed, because we were all saying things were getting better. We're all saying there's really positive signs. We're all saying football's looking better. So why did we completely change everything that we wanted to do? I can't really get my head around why we ended up playing the way we did, if I'm honest. And you could argue that maybe he saw something in Brentford, maybe saw a weakness, maybe he saw something that we could exploit. And again, maybe that is the fact that they had an inexperienced left back, and he thought the combination of Wan-Bissaka, Bowen, and Kudus should get at him and cause him problems. But it just did on the day. It just didn't happen.
They didn't link up very well either, did they, Bowen,
Not at all.
Kudus, and Wan-Bissaka? I can kind of get it. The three of them had a really good understanding and relationship, and they were doing quick passes between them, and they were trying to get Wan-Bissaka in behind Keane Lewis Potter, or Kudus in behind Van den Berg or something. And there was a bit of an obvious plan, and the way we were doing it was good. But I don't even feel like I agree what you're saying, by the way, in terms of where the players were in terms of positioning. But that's about as far as it goes, because in terms of playing out that strategy or that plan, I didn't see one. And then the link-up play between the three of them, I think, was non-existent as well. I mean, I could go have a look at the numbers and see how often they pass to each other and stuff, but I'd be surprised if it was a high number. But it might be safe passes in West Ham's half rather than up at Brentford's end, because I just felt like in the first half we offered literally no attacking threat whatsoever. I can't remember Flecken making a save. The best chance was Kudus, which he blazed over, but apart from that, I don't recall much. I think the next best one was whichever Brentford player it was, headed over Ollie Scholes' effort from the edge of the box from one of the rebounded corners. In terms of players, Frankie, good or bad, I'm not going to pick players or put words in your mouth, so it's like a free hit for you. Is there any players you would like to discuss for positive or negative reasons?
It's very hard to have any positives. Like I said, the one that I was really frustrated by, because I thought he showed signs of being that West Ham character that we need, someone who likes to upset the game a little bit, someone who's a bit niggly, and someone who's got something about them. And I thought Soler was looking like he was really coming into his own a little bit. And recently he's dipped off a little bit, and it was the worst game by far that he's had for us, and that was really, really frustrating. So that was a shame. In fact, you said it really well in the, I can't remember what post-match video it was that you did, but when you said basically Bowen and Kudus just got in each other's way all the time. They didn't play well together. They was just literally causing each other issues. And it was like, just give each other some space, try. And so that was really frustrating. There were times where I was screaming the spaces on the left-hand side because we were so right-side heavy. You just wanted them to switch play quickly. There was loads of space over there. We just refused to do it because we just had this real planner down the right-hand side. It didn't play into anyone's sort of advantage, really. Even Wan-Bissaka, I thought, was one of his biggest off games that he's had for us as well. It stopped him from doing the positive things that he's been doing for us. He didn't have the space to run into because he had the two players further forward. So, yeah, all in all, very difficult to pick out any positives. The only positive I can have, and I know we're moving on from the first half now, but second half, I just felt we looked so much better with James Ward-Prowse in the middle. And he did add something to at least trying to play a bit of football in the middle of the park. He was picking up the ball. He was putting his head up. He wanted to play the ball forward. Like you said, we saw in the first half there how many sidewards and backwards passes we were making. Well, Ward-Prowse did try and play a bit of football at least. So that was a positive. I thought, mate's gone. Left back.
Our one, Emerson.
Yeah. No, second half.
Skulls.
So Skulls, I thought he would look really bright. I know he blazed over, but I thought he looked really positive and again, added a little bit of something. I mean, the second half was a much, much improved performance. How much of that was them sitting off whatever, but we definitely looked a little bit more positive. We definitely looked a bit better. Souček again, I'm always a defender of Souček because I think he has been a workhorse for us. And again, you can blame Souček, you can blame individual players, but again, that midfield that Souček's in don't help him, don't benefit him. He has to have other people around him with more mobility, with more passing ability, who can get us forward. And then you don't rely on him for that element of the game so much. So again, footballers get paid a lot of money. They carry a lot of responsibility. I don't think any of them put in anywhere near enough effort and enough of a shift to justify the wearing the shirt on that first half. Second half, we looked a lot brighter. We looked a lot more positive. And I said, he's really got to stick a rocket up him after this first half because there was nothing there. We looked better. You said Paqueta come a lot better in the second half, and he did. But again, some people say his best position's out on the left because that's where he's played his best games for West Ham and his best performances have come from out there. The way Brazil utilise him is a completely different position. I'm still not 100% sure I know what Paqueta's best position is. I don't think any manager has quite worked out what his best position is. It's a real tricky one with him. But yeah, aside from that, it's really, really difficult. Obviously, Ferguson came on. We messed up completely with the lift that could give a really flat crowd. Getting that wrong, not announcing it properly, and announcing Guido Rodriguez was embarrassing, to be quite honest.
What happened? Sorry.
So basically, what happened when Evan Ferguson come on? They got on the screen, they got the player wrong, and the announcer also read out Rodriguez, not Ferguson. So nobody cheered that Ferguson was coming on. Yeah, so it's just embarrassing. The lift that you can have of announcing a new player when everyone gets on their feet.
Well, you see it with who Villa played. It was during the week. I know they've had the weekend game. Rashford took the free kick. It was before that when Rashford and Asensio came off the bench. I want to say Spurs, but I'm not 100% sure if it was Spurs. I feel like it was them they played. But again, they had the big announcement. The players were warming up, and while they were warming up, it was like, here they are, clap, clap, clap. Malum was looking good whilst playing. Clap. and then they were stripped and ready to come on, and they were, standing there waiting for the ball to get played. And you can feel the anticipation, can't you? You can feel the fans ready to get up off their feet and give them a big cheer. And the announcer gives it the big one as well. Please welcome, blah, blah, blah. And then there's 2 new signings to come on. So you get the big cheer. So when they come on the pitch, they feel like 8 foot tall, don't they? They're like, bloody hell, listen to that crowd. I didn't know that about the...
Instead, we're all looking around. Everyone's going... Who's come on there? What's that all about? And everyone's going, look on the thing, see what substitute it is on.
Even get it wrong, like
even it wasn't even like the announcer got it wrong. The picture that come up on the screen was wrong. The announcer announced it wrong. Just all round, you just looked and just thought it was honestly, the whole match experience on Saturday was just a catalogue of errors, mistakes. We can't get the basics of a matchday experience right. As I said to you, we'd done the minute silence, and that was lovely, and it was really nice, and their fans were really respectful, and that was great. But then after that, whoever controls the music forgot to put the music on for the Premier League music, which builds up a bit of suspense and everything else. Forgot to turn that on. It created a really flat start to the whole match. We didn't play the second rendition of Bubbles, which we don't always do after a minute silence. However, again, I struggle to understand why, and people say, respect thing, but anyone who's West Ham wants to sing Bubbles. I actually think it's a nice thing to sing Bubbles after or following a mark of respect, because that's what we're all about, and that's the club's identity. So I've got no issues with that. And again, then half-time comes around, again, just flat music at half-time. I mean, the whole playlist of what music they play. Now, West Ham, mate, we have a culture and a history. This is what annoys me most, right? We have a culture and a history dating way, way back. There are plenty bands, musicians, songs that West Ham have got. We've got the 1960 Cup Final song. We've got many different versions of Bubbles. We've got Wham United, who done some amazing songs during the European run. We've got Sham 69 music. We've got Cockney Rejects music. We've got whatever it is that you want. There's plenty of music that associates to West Ham and that resonates with West Ham fans, and it actually is what you expect from a footballing experience. You've got to learn in a football ground, and we've seen it with Newcastle, we've seen it with all these other big clubs. You need to play music. You start off with, a bit more mellow stuff, and you build it up and you build it up and you build it up, and you get people in their seats, and you can feel the electric building, you can feel the atmosphere. And then bang, you go, and we can. A lot's to be said.
I always associate London's Calling with West Ham, because when I was little, it's the first time I heard that song, and I think it was a song that stuck in my mind after going as a kid, and what's that song? I don't even remember the song, but I remember. I'm trying to think what game it was now. I want to say it was. We qualified for European football one way or another. It must have been the FA Cup, before the FA Cup final or something. Can remember that song? Celebrate good times. Come on. Can remember being in the Betway stand, as it was, over on the left-hand side, either high up the lower tier or low down the upper tier. Can't recall which one it was. I remember being over that side, and that was on after the game, and the fans were still there after the game for quite a while. So it must have been like.
Tell you what that might have been, Geo, because I remember it as well. Now you're saying it, when Leeds got into the Champions League for the first time, and it was last game of the season at Upton Park.
It would have been the last game of the season. But I'm just trying to fix my mind as to why we would have played that song. It would have been last game of the season, but I'm trying to think.
We all used to stay behind, and there always used to be a celebration type atmosphere. But I remember it like it was yesterday, mate. Leeds, they got in, and the Leeds fans stayed behind. We stayed behind, and that song was being played. So I do remember that song as well.
What was the result in year? West Ham Leeds. I don't know. I'm never going to find it, am I? By doing a quick Google, but I don't know. I have to have the research. Well, someone will tell us anyway. You're probably right, but someone will definitely tell us in the comments anyway. Anyway, we've got a question before we talk about Arsenal. We've got a question from Jack, who's one of our subscribers, who said, "Have you got a view on a player we were linked to over the last week, and that is Verratti, the Italian central midfielder who's plying his trade in Qatar. We were linked to him last week. Do you have much of a thought on that transfer rumour?
Even though we're still playing football, I've got to be honest with you.
He's 32, so I think he's 32, so he's getting on a bit, but he's still not quite. I mean, you could argue semi-retired, but because did you see John Duran's goal?
Yeah, I did when he pushed it past 2 players
twice. Do you know that old trick where you knock it to one side of the defender, run round him and get the ball? John Duran did it twice in a row. He just ran in a straight line, diagonal from like the touchline dugout area to the 18-yarder, and did it twice and just slotted it in, and then ran off as if he just scored in the World Cup. Anyway, Verratti, I'll sum it up, Jack. I seen it. I don't believe it. And I'm not that bothered. I don't have a strong opinion one way or another. I assume he's on ludicrous wages being out in Qatar, so it's a no for me.
Yeah, I'll probably echo that. And like you say, when they go out there, the days are numbered. It's all you're finished, really. So yeah, not for me.
I think it depends on the age. I think I get what John Duran's doing. A bit like Ruben Neves. I think it was Witzel did it when he went to China before going over to Dortmund. He went to China and basically said, I'm going there for a couple of years. I'm going to get paid a lot of money. I'm going to collect all my money. Then I'm going to go play football again. So I'm just going out there to earn. Ruben Neves said, why are you going to China? Why are you going to Qatar? You see the money? It's going to sort out my family, but also their families and stuff like that. So I'm going to go out there for a few years, scoop up all the money, and then I might come back and play European football when I'm in my later 20s. I think John Duran did the same. I expect he'd be back in some form of European football in a few years' time with tens of millions in his bank. So it's becoming a new career decision, I think. But Arsenal on Saturday, I'll be honest with you, I'm actually looking forward to it. Now, obviously the evidence against Brentford is that we played crap. There's no doubt about it. I think Potter got it wrong. I think some of the players didn't bother turning up, but I do feel quite confident that there will be a reaction from Potter himself. So it might be changing information, changing the personnel, and they're bloody well damn better be. But I do think there will be, and because of that belief, it's sort of made me feel okay heading into the game against Arsenal. I'm not as down about it as I perhaps would have been 2-3 months ago. So I'm still bringing it on Arsenal because I don't think they're great at the minute themselves either. They did beat Leicester, but there's a possibility that Arteta is going to play Marino as a number 9 on Saturday against us. That's what we're dealing with here. So I'm looking forward to it, actually. It's not the Arsenal, the injury crises and stuff we've had. Arsenal have got one at the minute. I think that's fair to say. So you looking forward to the game Saturday?
Yeah, I am. I was offered 2 tickets. I politely declined because I've got other things that I need to be doing at the moment. So yeah, I would have liked to have gone. It's the sort of one where we expected something last weekend. That's the one you don't, and that's the one where West Ham have in the past turned up. So look, I'd love to get something from that game. And like you said, they're not quite firing on all cylinders at the moment. But again, I just feel like when you have these teams that aren't quite at the races and have got some problems, then you've got to go and put it on them and go in there and sitting off them and treating it like Arsenal when they're on form, letting them grow into the game, nicking a goal. It's then difficult to come back. So I feel like we've got to go and start a bit more positive to what we have been. And I've kept saying that, actually. I kept saying that I think we have looked better, our footballs look better, but I just feel we need to be a bit more positive. And I think I'm going to keep saying that at the moment because I do feel like we need to, just go there and try and get on the front foot a little bit and try and take the game to them. And to be fair, there's a few people who have said that. And Nick at Claret and Booze, he did say it. He turned around and said, look, if this is a free hit and a bit of a pre-season friendly like everyone's making out, then why can't we play football that we can get excited about? And, look, you can't quite go that far. We're not going to be the Harlem Globetrotters. We're not there just to entertain for the sake of entertaining. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is, look, isn't really anything to lose. You're going away to Arsenal. We're not expecting anything from it. They might be a little bit vulnerable. So why not go and get in their face and try and nick an early goal and take the game to them and let's see what they're made of. So, yeah, but no, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, he's got the players now. Ferguson, Bowen, Kudus, Paqueta, Soler, Guilherme, Danny Ings. He's got plenty of attacking options at his disposal to utilise them how he wishes. I wasn't happy with the lack of shots we had against Crystal Palace and Fulham. We didn't have that many either, but we got the win because we took advantage of the few opportunities that were presented to us. I thought against Villa in the league, we carried a bit of threat and we were unlucky not to come away with a win. Against Chelsea, I thought we carried a bit of threat and we're maybe just lacking that striker just to get us over the line in those two games. But against Brentford, I was back to being disappointed again with the lack of efforts at goal, the lack of plan when it comes to creating opportunities. I felt like we were trying to cross it all the time, and I thought it was a complete stupid thing to do up against three big centre-backs in Brentford's box, and we've only got Ferguson in there. I thought it was a very naive way of trying to get an equaliser, but you're in that situation where you're up against a low-block Brentford because you're 1-0 down. So if you go 1-0 up, you might not face that Brentford defence during the game. So I'm in agreement with that. I want us to see us go to the Emirates on Saturday and be ambitious and try and get 3 points. I think it would give everybody a much needed lift at the moment as well. And I think it would give a few players a shot of confidence in the arm, because one winning 5, 6, how many games has Potter had now? He's at Villa twice, Fulham, Palace, Chelsea, Brentford. 6 games he's had now, 1 win in 6. It's not a good record, whatever way you want to look at it. And I appreciate there's injuries in there and stuff like that, but good coaches overcome injury crises and things like that. If they find a way of getting, even if you can't win, don't lose. And at the minute, we're doing neither of those things. So I think we've got to get something on Saturday, but I'm feeling quite hopeful. But I think he might need to drop one of his bigger name players and go back to 3 at the back in order to get that result. Frankie, for the first time this season, you predicted us to not win against Brentford. You were correct with that. You went for a draw, but we'll ignore that part. But you said we wouldn't win for the first time. Are you back to the victory for the Hammers on Saturday? Or
I am. 2-1.
Love that. But before we go, did you have a game on Sunday? Was it played?
So, Geo, finally, the ground, verti-drain, sand, everything perfect. The pitch is like a carpet. We're ready to go. Message the groundsman 48 hours before, 100% the game will be on. Excellent. Ready to go. 8 o'clock the night before our match is due to go ahead. The manager phones up. Unfortunately, we haven't got enough players to play due to a virus. So it didn't go ahead because they didn't have enough players to play the match.
So you've still got a 0% win rate?
I do.
This is terrible. It's been a bad month.
This is bad.
That you've just reminded me of when in the last week's episode we discussed a little bit about like our childhood as West Ham fans. It resonated with a few people, and I remember when we went to play Chelsea on I want to say New Year's Eve or the 2nd of, it was New Year's at Upton Park, and I'm sure Harry Redknapp was the manager as well. Because it was New Year's and winters were bad back then. You get people complaining about the cold now. Nothing compared to childhood years. Like you go back 20 years, 30 years, there was snow, right? There was actual snow. There was frost, there was ice. These days it's 2 degrees. Oh, it's panic station. These winters are pussy compared to winters when I was growing up, right? But I remember Harry Redknapp, more chance of hell freezing over than the game being called off. So me and my dad set off to London, got to Upton Park, bang, game's off, frozen pitch. Nice one, Harry.
So, was that the Boxing Day one?
Yeah, maybe it was around Christmas or New Year. For some reason, I've got Boxing New Year in my head, but it might have been Boxing Day. It might have been. It was definitely Christmas or New Year. Yeah. So this would have. Well, I'm sure Harry was the manager. I'm sure it was. And it was him that said there's more chance of hell freezing over than the game being off. And the game was off because of a frozen pitch. Nice one, Harry. Anyway, right, we're going to disappear. Thank you very much for joining us once again. You got any questions for next week's episode where hopefully we'll be celebrating 3 points at the Emirates and bang, putting the final nail in their title bid coffin. We've done quite well at disrupting some North London title hopes over the years. Hopefully we can do it again on Saturday. Pop them in the comments below. We'll pick them up next week. But until then, please do drop a like on the video by clicking thumbs up. Sky News Hammers chat, myself and Frankie. Catch you in a bit.